So if you look overall in MYP 5, if you see there are 4 criteria A, B, C and D. Almost they are like equivalent in weightage if you see. So today we will discuss specifically for unit D, which is around 25 marks, and I would suggest you that you should always have minimum 25 minutes in order to have a quality answers to be written for your criteria D, because if you see in your past year papers, if you have attempted, these questions are at the end, okay, like question 8 or question 9. These two questions will be basically the criteria D1. So you should be mindful of your time and you should have at least 25 minutes to write down your answers. Now when we talk about criteria D, they will have basically two types of question. One will be considered as a major question, one will be a minor question. So major question will be almost around 10 to 12, 13 marks question, and this minor question will be around 6 to 7. So I will be discussing on this factor, how to write down, and the same can be applicable for minor one at a smaller level. So from my past experience, what I have observed in your MYP is they basically ask you to reflect on the impacts of sciences. I would not say it is particularly with respect to physics, but in general it is something relevant to the sciences, which you can add a little bit physics of your prior understanding or the knowledge that you have gained in MYP 4 and 5. So they start with the question of discuss and evaluate. They will give you one scenario, they will provide you some information, some fact, any article or a small video. Based on that, they will be framing a question to reflect your understanding how these things are impacting as a science student to the various different factors or the ideas. So I have collated all those different impacts which they can touch upon before they frame any particular questions. So what has to be written down in each of that impact, keeping a particular idea, that is what we are going to discuss, and then we will take one past year paper question and we will break it down how to write those in order to get a good marks. Okay, so let us say the first is your economic impacts. Now what do you mean by the term economic? Yes, so economic is basically anything which has relation with the flow of your currency or the flow of your money involved in it, right? So how does a decision or how does impact a significant idea impact the economy? Now economy can be in terms of your nation, it can be in terms of a company, it can be terms of an individual. So when you read out the question, you have to be very specific for what particular area they are asking the economic. So what I suggest all my students is take a scratch sheet you will be provided during your exam, and if you got a question related to, let us say, economics, so what I will write down is I will make a circle. This I call the mind map. So make a economic, and then whatever the points that you can figure out with respect to an individual or the nation depending on the question, write down all the different factors that you think could be possible for a given ideas for that particular question, and then try to link those and make a heading out of that and write down the points. So for example, advances in physics have led to the development of renewable energy technologies such as solar panels, wind turbines. Now these have created new jobs and they have reduced the dependence on fossil fuels. Now if I look from a nation's point of view, if I advance my technology or the development on renewable energy, that will create new jobs. New jobs will have new economic boost in the sector. The new persons will get job, the economy will develop for that particular nation. At the same time, there will be reduce on the dependency on the fossil fuels. But you have to think in that terms also. There can be a positive impact, there can be a negative impact as well. In the exam, they will, especially if they mention write a positive and negative, then you have to write down a positive and negative both, right? And if they didn't say anything specifically, then if you can think of a negative, you can write, but you have to provide a justification. Justification means why do you think it is a negative impact. So for example, in this case, if I say if it dependence on the fossil fuel is reduced, then there will be a major chunk of already person who has already skilled in fossil fuels development, like the mining of fossil fuels. There are also jobs created there, so those person will get affected. Thermal power plant where fossil fuels are used in major chunk, and majority of the production of electricity not in our country but all over the world is based on fossil fuels. So a sudden shift will be difficult. That will create a problem for those persons who are already involved in those industries. So a gradual shift must be there, and a proper training and skills may be provided to the current workforce to shift to a renewable energy. So that can be a probable solutions as well. So there are three factors when you are justifying. A positive impact, why do you think a positive impact? A negative impact, why do you think a negative impact? And in the conclusion, at the end of your overall answer, they may ask you to write down overall appraisal, overall conclusion, what do you think? And then when you are writing a conclusion, you can mention whatever you have written above, just in a brief, in a concise way. Also, wherever you feel there are probable solutions to a particular scenario, please do provide probable solutions.
Okay.
That will add up your marks in conclusion specifically. Many students generally ask this question, sir, what should be the word limit? How much big answer we should write? There is no such guidelines, right? As an examiner, I just want that the student have mentioned whatever the question is asking, the points that are mentioned in the question, whether they are covered, whether they are justified. Now you can justify that in 2 lines. For each point you can make 4 lines. That doesn't make any sense, and there is no point in repeating the same point again and again. That will be counted as one only. You will be wasting your time in just typing. Similarly, the social impact. Now when we say social impact, we are basically considering how this will impact the society. Now again, that can be a positive and negative impact as well. So for example, the medical breakthrough of MRIs and radiation therapy, which has saved countless lives, improved the quality of healthcare. However, physics has also led to the development of nuclear weapons, which has potential to cause mass destruction and threaten the global security. Now, whenever there is an advancement in the technology, right, there can be a positive and negative impacts on the society. Keeping the society as a subject, you have to think how it can impact the society in both positive or negative. So don't need to mention anything which has no relevance with the society under this point. Your community, your society, your neighbors as a whole, how it will affect that particular area, you have to touch upon with a proper justification. Then comes your technical impacts. Now technical impacts are all your relevance with respect to the advancement in the technology, such as use of AI. Right now AI is a very hot topic, right? So how does the use of AI has a challenge for developing nations, or you can say if any advancement technology is there, how it is impacting the nations. So you can say that every country doesn't have their own AI cloud server or own AI. So they are depending on the nations who have developed these technologies. So there is a technical challenges for those government to regulate the use of AI in their own country, which may hamper the data, the security of that nation. So this is a technical challenge for a nation, because every country doesn't have that their own personal, what you can say, the AI rules and regulation. It is governed by few major superior shareholders in the nation, in the world, as we are talking now. Also, technical challenges can be like, recently there was question where there was, I think it was May 23 or somewhere around, I don't know exactly, 24 or 20. Recently there was question related to the different countries. There was some information provided in criteria D where different countries in the world have launched their satellites in the space, and they were commenting on how much investment the nation has done, how many satellites got failed, how many projects got failed, how many are successful, and those all information was provided. And there was one question, what are the technical challenges in launching the satellite for a nation? So the countries may not have that much technology to send their own satellite into the space, and it requires a huge chunk of their budget to invest in such technologies, which cannot be feasible for each and every nation who are still facing problem to cater the basic needs of their country's citizen. So these are some technological challenges that you can add with a justification. Why do you think that is a technological challenge? You can say this country is still in a developing stage, so to invest in technology in a huge amount, it is a technical problem, because the opposition party in their government can raise the concern, because the citizens are not getting the basic necessities. So how can you expect the government to invest that much amount of people's money? Because the government, if they are investing, that is the money of the citizens only. They are getting the money from the citizens itself only, in the form of different form of taxes and all those kind of things. So you have to open your mind, and you have to link with respect to a particular scenarios. Coming environmental is quite easy. I hope this is self-explanatory. Anything that can be related to or create any environmental issues, climate change, renewable energies, you can link those things with respect to environment. Again, it can be a positive or negative depending on the type of question they are asking. But you have to, when we are saying environmental, it just not consider humans, it can consider all your aquatic life, marine life, flora, fauna, right, forest, everything can be considered in the environmental. So you have to mention how that particular change or decision or the subject of the question is impacting the environment as a whole. Now, with a proper justification why you consider that as an environmental impact. In that also you can use your prior knowledge of your MYP, like you can add greenhouse gas effect, you can add the nuclear waste disposal, how it is impacting, and all those kind of things, right? So you have to provide a justification using your prior knowledge, if there is a possible to link your knowledge with that particular question. Then comes the political impact. Now this is very less, but politically basically they ask you if a decision making in a particular area or a nation is affecting the policies or the political scenario, like the relations with your neighboring countries, the relation with your global partners. These things comes under the political impacts. If there is a policy that has been implanted, how it is affecting the nation as a whole, the neighboring countries as a whole, or at a global stage as a whole. So that comes under the political impact. So basically the security related to it, right? Any on humanitarian grounds, if something is being done, is it in the favor or against of it? That comes under the political impacts. How the other countries will react to it, like in a war type situation. So if a war is between two nations, it does not only affect those two nations, it affects at the global level as a whole. If there is a advancement development in the nuclear energy and the weapons, it has some geopolitical implication. It leads to the treaties and agreements such as the nuclear non-proliferation treaty, right? You might have heard about this. In United Nations have signed these that no countries will further enhance the nuclear use in terms of weapons and all those things, in terms of using it at a level which will hamper the peace and security of the nations as a whole.
Okay.
And last and least is moral and ethical impacts. Now, this is a personal issue. It has nothing right or wrong answers for it. It is basically depend on your own belief, your own perception. But if you think that is morally or ethically correct, you have to provide a valid reasoning for it. Why do you think is using a nuclear energy at a commercial level is beneficial for the society, let us say? So you can say that yes, I believe that is a useful way of using nuclear energy because that has no greenhouse gas effect. It does not produce any greenhouse gases. It is environment friendly. At the same time, and another student can write that no, we should restrict the use of nuclear energy because if that comes under the hand of what you can say, the peoples who are using it for making it as a nuclear bomb, or it can comes to a hand of terrorists, it can be a huge risk for the nation or for the world. Or in other words, someone can also write, I am against the use of nuclear energy because it creates nuclear waste, which is again a important factor for and play a critical role in the disposal of it. We don't have any solution yet, and it creates a huge environmental issues. Anything when you are mentioning in your this criteria D question should have a proper justification for it. In just one line is more than enough. If it is to the point, one line, one statement is more than enough. So anything which you are writing, minimum 2 points is needed for each impact with a proper justification. Any point. Now when we are writing down, there should be a proper way. Let us say this is the space for which you have to write down your answer. So what I will do is I will start with just an introduction. Now when you are writing down the introduction, no need to type it. You can just copy and paste from the question. There is an option Control C and Control V in your e-assessment. So just copy, like in the following we will discuss about economic impact, environmental impact, so blah 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 in 2 to 3 lines. And then first point, let us say if they ask you about the economic impact, so write down the first, or you just make a bullet point, economic impacts. No need to write down anything else. The examiner will understood that you have started your answer for the economic impact. And then first heading, like under the economic, as I mentioned, you will be making a mind map. Out of that mind map, you select any one point which you think is the most suitable one. Make a subheading of it, like economic impact, you mean new jobs. So I make a heading new jobs, and I will explain it 1 or 2 line. Another point I will write down new jobs, and next I can say is profit for company or profit for individual, whatever the profit, type of profit you can say. Okay, so that you can write it down, and then 2 to 3 lines. Then your second point, let us say environmental impacts. So again, environmental impact, you can write down reduce greenhouse gases, 2 lines. Then I'm continuing on this is your, I'm going bottom. Okay, so another heading you paid is reduces greenhouse, and then you can write down another point related to environmental is effect on aquatic or marine life. So you can write down 2 points like justification how it is impacting. So you will consider all the different points that are mentioned with some certain subheadings, and at the end, whether the examiner asks you or not, it's better to write a conclusion, leave a gap, just enter it, leave a space for each, after each point just leave a space and write down, and conclusion should cover all the important points that you have mentioned. No need to justify in the conclusion, just mention these are my positive points, these are my negative points, but for the negative you are providing a proper solutions or probable things that can be done. So for examples, the government should create awareness about the use of AI. There should be strict rules and regulations for the companies or for the apps that uses AI. There should be a proper privacy policies that has to be given to the users to check. There should be a proper monitoring, like these things that you can mention in the conclusion. So this should be a proper way of writing down your criteria D question. Also you can bold, control B, bold out the point which you want the examiner to focus on, because look, to be very honest, do the control B, don't control B the whole sentence, just control B the part which you want for the examiner to focus on. So this is all about criteria D, and the second minor question will be very to the point. It will ideally be 4 to 5 to 6 maximum mark question, that you should not have to think much. You can just write down in paragraphs, no need to do introduction or conclusion for that. You directly go to the point, read it carefully, what basic ideas you can think of, make a mind chart and just write down. And control B is very important, the bold, that will be a good effect on your answer. Now what I'm here is, in this document there is a May 2023, this is the script of the video. What I will do is I will share this link, you can check this in the description also, or this has the answer also. So I don't want you to go through the answer first, right? You just watch that video. That video is nothing but this whole script, okay? So you can just watch that video, pause the video there only, and then this is the question. So I want you to write down the answer for this question, whatever we have understood till now. Also this question I have done on my own, so you can watch this link, okay? This you can read out this part, and I want you to try this question and answer it. This is the probable question which I think based on your global context for this year. Try this question and write down the answers, okay? Wish you all the very best, guys. See you soon in the next video.